Welcome to the Kentland Palmer Park Transforming Neighborhood Initiative Focus Area, where we're changing attitudes, aligning behaviors, and improving conditions. I'm Corey Smedley, the team leader, and I bring you greetings from the entire Kentland Palmer Park TNI team. And we would like you to join us in celebrating Maryland's first Community Development Week. At this time, I would like to recognize our elected officials. Kentland Palmer Park sits within the District 24 Legislative District, and I'd like to acknowledge our Senator Joanne Benson, our Delegate Michael Vaughn, our Delegate Carolyn J.B. Howard, our Delegate Darren Swain. We're also in the Councilmanic District 5, and I would like to acknowledge Councilwoman Andrea Harrison. We do have some other officials here today. We have our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Economic Development and Infrastructure, Mr. Victor Hoskins. We have Mr. Reginald Exum with Citigroup. He's the Vice President in charge of the community development. We have our District 3 Major, Major Nichols. And if I didn't acknowledge you, it is not the heart, it's the head, and we will make sure we acknowledge you later on in the program. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge our visionary leader, the Honorable County Executive, Rushern Baker III. We are extremely excited about this home behind us and the great partnerships that help bring it to fruition. You will hear from all the partners that played an important role in accomplishing turning this blighted property into a beautiful home. A home is a place where families gather and memories are created. Homes make a community, and a community helps improve the overall quality of life. Where there is a community, our schools will improve, our neighborhoods become safer, and our communities move from good to great. The American poet Ralph Waldo Emerson stated it best: "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there's no path and leave a trail." Our speakers today are definitely trailblazers, and they will highlight how collaboration can transform a community. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Odette Ramos. She is the Executive Director for the Community Development Network of Maryland. Ms. Ramos.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Odette Ramos. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Development Network of Maryland. Today we celebrate the second day of Maryland Community Development Week, something that our organization is putting together. We are a statewide network of over 130 member organizations, mostly nonprofits and public agencies that do community development all over the state. Our Maryland Community Development Week is part of our larger initiative called Leading the Way to Stronger Communities. We're doing this initiative to promote the important impact that community development has in Maryland. Our organization also works to strengthen organizations that do community development, as well as go to Annapolis every year for sound policy and money to do community development, which is very important in our state. Now let me tell you a little bit about the impact of community development. Organizations around the state invest over $86 million in all kinds of projects all over the state, from housing projects, probably a little more, from housing projects to farmers markets to tree plantings. All of that is community development. They also hire over 2,000 people full-time with benefits. That is an economic impact when you have jobs, and these nonprofits and agencies are doing that. And of course, the social impact. No one can underestimate the impact of being able to give someone a good home. No one can underestimate the impact of having a beautiful neighborhood. And so that's what this is really about, is to be able to talk about the impact and make sure people, everyday people, understand what we're talking about, and legislators and public officials know what we're talking about in terms of community development. So what we think of as community development is just what I talked about, and what our other speakers are going to talk about too, is strengthening communities, anything involved in strengthening communities. And our week this week is really highlighting those things. Yesterday we kicked off Maryland Community Development Week in Baltimore City at a community center that was transformed from an old recreation center to the center of community for all incomes and ages. And we had mothers with their 2-year-olds coming in the middle of our press conference going into some programs there. It was great. Today we're doing this house, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Another speaker will. Tomorrow we're going to feature a business area in the Long Branch neighborhood where one of our partners did great public art as well as facade improvements to improve that business area. That's part of community development. On Thursday we'll be in Frederick to really highlight the importance of volunteers in community development as well. And Friday we will be in Ocean City talking about the Main Street, which is not the boardwalk, by the way. It's just outside the boardwalk. So that'll be a new place for us to learn about in Ocean City. And then on Saturday we'll be in Dundalk. Dundalk is going through a renaissance, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. So we're really trying to highlight all aspects of community development during this week, and we're going to keep doing it throughout the year on our social media and our website, and we'll do it again through Maryland Community Development Weeks throughout the year. So I'm really excited that we're doing this. I want to thank our sponsors, the Maryland Department of Community Development and TRF, as well as BB&T and Klein Hornig. But I also want to thank Housing Initiative Partnership for putting this effort together and this event together and for doing such great work in the Prince George's County community. Thank you very much for your time.
And without further ado, I would like to bring up at this time Ms. Marianne Dillon, Housing Initiative Partnership Incorporated Executive Director.
Thank you so much, Corey. I'm Marianne Dillon. I'm Executive Director of Housing Initiative Partnership. I have with me some of our board members today. We have Sam Parker, Lexi Clark, and Reginald Exum here. And I also have some staff people. Stephanie Prestel, who's our Deputy Director, who's the one who pioneered our whole HIP Homes home ownership program. Jocelyn Harris, who's the brains behind this house. And also Nathaniel McDonald, who is our Financial Capability Director. We also have with us Ryan Middleton, who is from Senator Benjamin Cardin's office. So thank you so much for coming. That is really great. Okay, HIP is an innovative green nonprofit developer based right here in Prince George's County, and we are here to revitalize neighborhoods and remove blight, which is exactly what we've done in this neighborhood. We've been redeveloping vacant and distressed property since 1988. We recently purchased our 63rd home. We've been active in Palmer Park for many years. In fact, 32 of our 63 homes, half the homes we've done, have been here in Palmer Park. And you can see our work when you drive through Palmer Park. When you see the front porches like this, that is usually either a HIP home or it's a neighbor who saw a HIP home and said, gee, that looks great. I'm going to do that to my house. And that's what this is all about. It is demonstrating that this is a good neighborhood to invest in. This is a good neighborhood to make a home. And by making a statement in this house, we can inspire our neighbors to do the same thing in their homes. We have ramped up production pretty dramatically in the last couple years. We currently have 10 houses in inventory right now that are in some stage of development. And we can do this for two reasons. Number one, we have a real ace in the hole with Jocelyn Harris, who is our housing developer. She does an extraordinary job as a one-woman show bringing these on. And Prince George's County has really ramped up under their Touring Neighborhoods initiative. They have really put a focus on using home ownership as a tool for revitalizing neighborhoods. We believe in that, and we are so glad that this county supports home ownership, which we have supported for so many years. By prioritizing neighborhoods and targeting our resources into certain neighborhoods like Palmer Park through the Transforming Neighborhood Initiative, you can really see the impact of your work. It is very important to have the TNI effort. So please enjoy your visit and try to imagine the happy homeowners who purchase this home, who can enjoy this for their family and be secure that they have a good, solid home that they can afford to stay in for the long haul. I also, before I finish up, I do want to introduce Ken Lape, who is the general contractor on this house. And also Mike Cerrito, who is our broker. If you know anyone who wants to buy this house, it's going to go fast, so please look for Mike Cerrito before the sign even goes up. Thank you so much for coming.
Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Brown. He is the director of the Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development.
Good morning. I am proud to have our agency associated with HIP and the great work that they do. I'd like to recognize a few members of our staff that are here that really has worked diligently with HIP and other community organizations. Estelle Alexander, our deputy director, Pam Wilson, who basically oversees our housing development efforts, and I know I saw Lorraine Curtis around somewhere in the back, and Lorraine sort of makes sure that all of the paperwork gets done, so thank you all for the great work you do. I also want to take this opportunity to personally thank County Executive Baker, not only for his leadership, but his vision of transforming neighborhoods, and this is a clear example of what his vision was in terms of moving communities and lifting communities. And we're proud to be a part of that in terms of working with HIP. Our contribution is in the way we provide home partnership money. And in this particular case, in this particular community, we're going to be providing about $200,000 to work in the Kentland Palmer Park area. But not only that, you heard that this house has been done. There's an opportunity for a first-time home buyer to get into this home, and we can assist with that in terms of down payment assistance and closing costs. We have about $60,000, up to $60,000 that can help somebody get in this home. So Mike, I know you over there. so see Mike as you tour this house in Jocelyn. We're going to take this one off your hands, especially with waiving $60,000. So if you got a house that's selling for $200,000, that $60,000 can bring it down to $140,000. That's cheaper than rent. So own rather than rent. So thank you.
And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our visionary leader. Mr. Baker has definitely laid out the vision, and he's given us everything in our arsenal to move forward to improve the quality of life and transform neighborhoods. Without further ado, our county executive, Rushern Baker III.
Good morning. It's a great day in Prince George's County, and it is a great day. I'm so pleased to be in the Kentland Palmer Park T&I area with our T&I leader, Corey Smedley. Let me just say this real quick. Corey took over this T&I area when Carla Reed left the county. And we were searching around for somebody because this has been a great T&I area and a T&I team. I've come to their meetings. They really got the concept. And so we didn't want to just put anybody in here. And we went through this exhausting process of deciding who would take over. And Barry Stanton said, well, what about Corey? And we said, okay. And he has stepped in, and he has done a marvelous job of really getting the concept and moving it forward. Give him a round of applause. You know, in part of the speech, they talk about the fact that, you know, I do have these ideas. And I get most of the ideas as I drive around this great county of ours with my wife. And we normally walk into neighborhoods or drive into neighborhoods, and I say, why is it that way? Or she looks at me and points and says, why is it that way? And what are you doing about it? And then I come back at 3 in the morning to send out emails and say, where are we going to change these things? Occasionally, some people respond. And then I say, why are you up at 3 in the morning? But T&I came about because Brad Seaman and I had a conversation, who was the former CAO. And I wanted to know why the rest of our government could not respond the way in areas the way that the police department and fire department do. And from that led a series of conversations in senior staff, and we decided to look at 6 areas in the county where they had serious challenges. And we wanted to focus like a laser beam on those areas to change around. Because we said to ourselves, what if we put every ounce of energy in those areas the same way that communities that have a lot of resources do? What if we took the limited resources of the county and focused in those areas? What if we partnered with nonprofits faith communities, and private sector in those areas, could we turn them around? It's a question, and it still is a question mark. But what we see today is it's happening. To make sure that it didn't get lost, because you know what I've learned in this job is, as county executive, you can have these ideas, and they're good for that meeting you're in for about 5 minutes, and about 10 months later, I'll say, whatever happened to that? So to make sure it never got lost, is we assign each of our deputy CAOs, who have to meet with me every Monday, whether they want to or not, and we assign assistant DCAOs who have to meet with me every Monday, whether they want to or not. And we ask, so that way I could ask them what's going on. But they have really turned it around, and we're proud of. If you look at the numbers in these T&I areas, they're turning around. I would like to say that, you know, first of all, I want to thank HIP for all the great work that they're doing. Give them a round of applause. I certainly want to thank Ms. Ramos for the Community Network, the Community Development Network of Maryland. They're doing a great job. And by way of full disclosure, as many people who work in administration know, I started my career in community development. I worked for the People's Involvement Corporation. It was by accident. I was really, you know, my wife made me go get a job because we had a child. I wanted to take a year off. She was like, no, you got to go to work. And my boss at the time, I was a young lawyer, had no experience, did not know what I was doing. In fact, I was the guy who would like put the ribbons here and make sure you guys all had scissors. That was my job, fresh out of law school. But from that job, we went into areas that we were assigned to transform. U Street in the District of Columbia, 14th Street in the District of Columbia, Georgia Avenue in the District of Columbia, 8th Street in the District of Columbia. At the time that I had that job, they didn't look like the places where my young adults in my household like to go to. But what happened was the city, the nonprofit community had a vision of what the District of Columbia could look like. Just think about it. They changed around those neighborhoods at the same time they were actually building the Green Line. They were building the Green Line. It wasn't there. They were tearing up streets. Businesses, customers couldn't get to the businesses, but they had a vision of what it could look like. We in Prince George's County don't have the problem of them building around us. We have nice places like this. Who could ask for a better neighborhood than the police department? If you don't feel safe, I don't know why. I say all that to say I have a real commitment to community development and working with community development corporations. And I know the great work that HIP is doing. I know what this is going to do to change our neighborhoods here. And this day is really about continuing the vision, not that I have, but that the people of Prince George's County have, of what this county is going to be and what it's going to look like. We're already doing it. And I'm especially on a personal level pleased because I'm a neighbor right down the street. So the better, you know, the Palmer Park, Kentland neighborhoods do, the better my neighborhood does, the better the county does, the better the state does, and the better our nation does. Thank you, and thank you for your support.
I would like to thank you for taking your time out of your schedules and joining us for this exciting transformation, and we definitely look forward to more homes like this that we see behind me. Not only in Kentland, Palmer Park, not only in Prince George's County, but also the state of Maryland. This concludes our program. After the partners and the county executive cuts the ribbon, HIP will give the tour of the home and everyone is invited to take a part.